all my life. I lived in it through prior pregnancies. So I knew something wasn't quite right this time around. I knew, but maybe they just didn't believe me. I was on home bed rest. The doctors had sent me home with IV medicine because I had such severe nausea. I had to do 4-hour drips daily. I couldn't keep anything down. I was actually losing weight at this point. I was getting really dehydrated and I was having migraines. So I was visiting the hospital almost 2 times, every 2 weeks, basically. You know, I had a medical team that I knew and that I trusted. They were in Hickory. But towards the middle of my pregnancy, I had to move from Hickory to Greensboro. And I still kept in touch with my doctors in Hickory, but you know, I had to call them on the phone and they would give me advice from there. So when I started going to the emergency room in Greensboro, it was like, oh my God, I didn't know what was going on. I mean, to them, I didn't know my body. I didn't know anything. I was fighting with them all the time. Exactly 1 week before my son was born, I was at home with my daughter, and I got up out of the bed, and it was like my body started to swell, and my vision was really blurred, and I fell forward onto my stomach. My daughter called her dad, and he called 911 because he was at work at the time, and it was like 40 minutes away, but he still beat the ambulance to me. Now, when the ambulance finally arrived, they were able to get me downstairs, and then they took me to the hospital. But the hospital didn't have a maternity ward. No gynecologist, no one that could check on me from an OB's point of view. There was no one there to see me for at least an hour and a half. And finally, they brought a nurse from an OB hospital. And my question was, why would you bring me to a hospital where they don't deal with birthing? So I fell at home around 3 o'clock in the afternoon. At this point, it was 7:30 p.m. My blood pressure was off the roof. So the nurse came over to me and she said, you know, you can't stay here. Your blood pressure is too high, the baby's heart rate is high. You need to go to a maternity hospital and we're gonna get an ambulance because you can't go in a car. You're not stable enough. I was like, this is crazy. I gotta go to another hospital? She was like, well, didn't you have them to bring you here? And I was like, no, I just moved here. I'm not from here. They just dropped me off. My head was hurting so bad. My vision was really blurry. I could barely see. At this point, it's 10 p.m. And I'm still there. The ambulance hadn't arrived. So my boyfriend and I, we looked it up. And we saw that the hospital was extremely close. So we decided we're going there, no more waiting. We told the nurse, and she told us that as soon as we got there, they would send over our information and our records, and they would take us straight back. I got there, and they waited about 45 minutes to take me back. So it's now 12:30. They take me back and they check the baby, and he's fine, and I sprained my wrist. They tell me to go home and drink water. They would send my records to my OB, and then I should check in there to contact them for a follow-up. That's it. Go home, drink some water. So they released me about 2:30 in the morning. I'm in full-blown preeclampsia at this point, but I don't know it yet. They did no blood work, no labs, nothing. The cause of the fall was that my blood pressure was so high. Had they checked my urine, done labs, anything, they would have realized that I was in preeclampsia then. So my body continues to swell. This is Monday. I go home and I follow up with my doctors. But remember, I know my body. So I know something's not right. I'm in the bed and every day my symptoms keep getting worse and worse. By that Friday, I can't even see. My vision starts leaving me. And I'm telling them, the doctors, that my vision is blurry and that my feet are so swollen, I can't even get my flip-flops on. I mean, they looked a mess. They looked shiny. They looked like if they were gonna bust. But anyway, I laid in the bed and it was hard to even walk. So by Saturday, I wake up with black splotches blocking my vision. By Sunday, I couldn't even see my hands in front of my face. I called my doctors in Hickory and I said, I'm coming home. I know that I'm in preeclampsia. I know what's going on. I'm on my way to the hospital. So my doctor said, well, how do you know? I said, I've been there, done that. I know my body. My cheeks were so swollen, I could see them. That's how swollen my face was. She tried to convince me again to go to the hospital in Greensboro, but I said, I'm not going through that again. Get ready. I'm coming home. So she said, okay, I'll have a bed ready for you. So we got in the car and we headed back to Hickory. When I stepped out of that elevator, and when my doctor saw me, she said, oh my God, get a wheelchair. She could barely recognize me. And I said, well, I didn't walk this far. Just take me on to my room. But I got on the scale and I had gained 45 pounds in 10 days. It was all fluid. I was delirious and I was barely functioning. So they were gonna airlift me to Charlotte or Winston because Hickory really didn't have the capacity, but I think I was hemorrhaging. Or it was some kind of emergency that happened and they took me right to surgery. Maybe the baby's heart stopped. I really don't remember. I just know I was filling out papers and right in the middle of signing papers, the nurse ran out. They came back and took me into emergency surgery. I hemorrhaged after the C-section. My doctor asked how I felt after the surgery, and all I could think of was I felt hot and sticky. The doctor said in all my 33 years of delivering babies, I've never heard a mother say they felt hot and sticky after delivering a baby. Shortly after that, I'm in the room with my mom. And she looks at me, and my mama says, oh my God. And she points down, and blood is just dripping off both sides of the bed. I was just bleeding, and bleeding. They had to rush me into the OR. I was in a coma from Monday till Wednesday because I had lost so much blood. That's when I met my son on Wednesday, 3 days after I gave birth. 1 pound, 14 ounces. Breathing issues, allergies. His right lung was smaller than his left lung. He had severe asthma and allergies. Somehow, some way, I survived. He survived. We made it through. And now, when my kids are working my nerves, I tell them, I wish you would try. Do you know what I went through for you to be here? Thank you.